Heroes of the Storm. Play free and experience the new StarCraft-themed battlegrounds. Rated T for Teen.
Team Freedom barely manages to win game number 3, which means we are headed to game 4. Soon we'll know what battleground it'll be on, but an important moment for Team Freedom to have this momentum.
Yeah, and they have definitely shown, as you brought about the boss at the last play, that was not the first time that we've seen that even in this series, where it feels like it's just their Hail Mary, right? Where they're like, this is about as good as it's going to get. And that isn't something you're always proud to admit in the middle of the game, but if it's your best fight, it's one that I'm excited to see Freedom showing that they're growing as a group of players, that they have learned in their decision-making, that it hits a point where a 20-on-20 boss fight is legitimately your own win condition, and rather than, kind of just dancing around it and never starting it, they very quickly now just go, okay, Acro boss, let's go. And it worked out for them in the last game. It may not in the next one, but it's still a really good and rare trait to see in a group of players.
It wasn't even like, we're going to start the boss, but then we're more interested in trying to pick people off around that. It was just, nope, we're going to burn boss. We have Expulsion Zone. They don't quite have everything up. We just saw them use it all. And that's all she wrote. That was all it took. It did get a little hairy when it came to the cores.
Yeah.
But being able to defend what Teammate was putting out, keeping even Vala along with the boss to try to zone anybody off of that too, it worked out. It worked out in game 3. We'll see how it's going to work out in game 4. We're ready to see the battleground, I do believe. Knowing Team 8, they have made some different choices before. They're picking first pick here, though. Confident that it was just a slight mess up there at the end. It's not anything too big of an issue here. They should...
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they're feeling like they can still close things out in this game.
Yeah, for Team 8, when it comes to mentality going into this game, should be, all right, so now this is a best of 7. And we're going to win this one, too. Because, that last game, obviously you didn't win it. And going back, there's something to take and learn from it. But when it comes to in the middle of a series like this, you just go, we won that game. We just made one mess up. Things are going to happen. Go on to the next one.
But Towers of Doom, that is a favorite for Team Freedom. So at least on comfortable grounds for Game 4.
Comfortable grounds. Team Freedom even put a win up against Tempo Storm on Towers of Doom. Am I crazy? Or was that was No Tomorrow, wasn't it?
Superstars.
Who was the
Superstars did on Towers?
Superstars
No
on
Tomorrow
Towers?
did on Dragonshire.
Who was? Man, I felt like it was Tempo, man.
Wait, Freedom might have been the team that beat them on Dragon. Give me a sec.
I know. I would have brought mine today, but I forgot to plug it in. I'm a terrible human being.
They did on Dragon.
They did on Dragon. I just remember I thought Freedom, for some reason for me, was the team that for the first time, brought it to them on that bottom sappers. And I was like, if they do that here against Team 8 and have that kind of control, I give them a very confident win.
Yeah, No Tomorrow did do that, but Tempo were still able to beat them in the game.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, I thought that control that they had shown over Tempo Storm would have been enough. So not too crazy. In fact, it was No Tomorrow, but the Zeratul Abathur picked up for Freedom here in their first 2 rotations. It's going to limit the heroes available for Glorong. And with Greymane, oh man, with Greymane banned out, it's going to force him onto the Medivh.
Unless he plays Dahaka.
Unless he plays the Dahaka, that is true.
Though you're right. The shift that we've been seeing from Team 8, the second warrior has not been played by Glorong for a long time. What
if you, on Freedom right now, it probably can't work because you picked the Abathur, I take it back. But what if you just ban, let's say Medivh and Chromie are not picked on this rotation, you just ban out the Medivh and you pick the Chromie, or the other way around. Either way, removing both. So now you hurt the adjustments of hero pools both on Glorong Sense and Prismats. That could be a power play for Freedom.
Especially since Greymane is shared by both of those players too.
Yeah.
Prismat and Greymane.
Yeah, it hits both of their hero pools. That's why with that ban out on the side of Team Freedom, or Team 8, it seems like that pick rotation for Freedom would be so very clever. But the problem is that they have to remove both of those. And with the Varian picked up on Team 8, you know they want the Medivh. I will be flabbergasted if Medivh is not banned right now. I feel like he won't be, just because I'm really good at that. But
if not Medivh, what are Team Freedom hoping to do? They can't take out, yeah, they're just going to take out Chromie instead. Maybe they're going to pick it, but maybe the Chromie band's also enough. It does still do the same thing.
It does. The reason I'm a little more flustered on that is based on the fact that, so obviously the Chromie's a new flavor, everything else. It's just the variant Medivh has literally been Teammates' thing since week 1 of North American HGC.
You could say it's their bread and butter.
It is their, yeah, the bread is Glorong and the butter is Justin's variant, and that is how it goes. And so I was just, it's just so straightforward. I'm not even saying that it's unbeatable because I don't think it is. But when a team shows a player with such a strict hero pool like Glorong's and a few heroes he is very good at, he's very, very good at. It would stab at that, would stat at the bread and butter strategy. It just feels a little out of place.
But that does that with Chromie too.
You think?
With Prismat.
Prismat,
it's just a different person.
But that's in part to way less common than the Chromie is like sample size of half that of Medivh variant.
Yes, it is less of time, but it is still doing the same thing. It's just Freedom. Maybe even Freedom is more willing to play
more comfortable
versus Medivh. Look, they get Lunara. That's a good start to be able to just persist that poison damage through. Arthas too, to try to slow him down, keep him away, root him down away from the portals.
They didn't even go for it either. Hello? It's the 4 tanks and a support.
Hey-oh. Tank, because it's Sergeant, you can't see his grin, and I'm glad for that. Friends at home. Just keep it on. You've only got 41 seconds to keep that grin going until we're back up on the screen.
I'm going to take every ounce of these 34 seconds. Last pick, though. Man, Teammates draft. That is a very beefy composition. I know this sounds crazy. I would love me a Jimmy, like in their composition for Freedom. I know they don't have a support, and that would not be the time to do it, but my goodness, a Jimmy Raynor in the hands of Freedom here into a triple melee and a Sergeant Hammer could have been so terrifying.
Karzium's here to be the superhero that Team Freedom needs. The support to round out the draft. It looks strong. Zeratul Abathur, Lunara too. They've got someone to be able to get kills from Lunara's poison against Uther. You've got Arthas, who is great versus a bunch of melee, and there are a bunch of melee for Team 8. What about Teammates draft, Dread?
Just the fact that we see a triple warrior Sergeant Hammer. It's a very patient, sit back strategy coming out from them. It just doesn't seem very Team 8 style, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing for me that stands out. It's not even that it's bad. We've seen Protect the Hammer comps left and right. Sustained DPS is really awesome, and they can force the issue siege up anywhere on the map at any point. It's just a lot of it is more of like, I didn't ever expect this coming out from Team 8, really. In that pick priority, they have definitely made some changes with some of that. The fact that they're going to have Glorong moving over to the Dahaka and then Yoda still playing that Leoric. It's just weird more than anything for me.
How do you feel it will do compositionally versus Team Freedoms? They've got Sergeant Hammers, who they can siege things down. Lots of protection for her. Try to counter what Abathur's doing on Towers of Doom. Yeah,
the one thing that makes me really not like Team Freedom's comp into what they have on the side of Team 8. So you have a Zeratul and a triple melee, so none of those are an option. Uther's not your best option to focus down, and Sergeant Hammer gets a Divine Shield. So the double Zeratul outside of levels 1 through 9, it needs to create a lot of havoc. The Zeratul on its own. Later in the games, it's going to be more of Lunara doing work and keeping. I just don't know if Freedom has the patience to keep Zeratul to not go in and die, because he's got a different role here than he's had in almost every draft we've seen in all HGC. Just judging by the fact that Lunara can outdamage the triple warrior, she can outdamage the support. Zeratul legitimately just needs to be alive and able to move in when things matter.
Maybe the difference here is just cloning Arthas and letting the Arthas clone get onto Sergeant Hammer, force her to unsiege, and then maybe the team can jump in from there. Trying to void prison once they've caused enough chaos that she moves away from the initial sieging point that they wanted to sit in.
Yeah, whatever it is the most important thing is that you can get someone to bait a defensive cooldown from Sergeant Hammer before Zeratul has to reveal itself. Like, that is the biggest thing when it comes to the approach to this, because anytime, if you do that exact same route and you force those defensives, but the Zeratul is the one who's initiating to force all those, it will draw a Worth Divine Shield. But the minute that you do that to where it's even if it's just the Zeratul clone or the Arthas clone, something to pop a defensive and you get that D-Shield and Zeratul still can reinitiate, still has his Void Prison, that is where Freedom will be comfortable. It's really hard to do. And Freedom is a young team.
Yeah, who we don't know
to
adjust and make those adaptations in time. That's their call. That's what they have to do if they want to be here and want to hang with Team 8. So let's see if they can do it on Towers of Doom.
If you want to hang with Team 8,
I want to hang with Team 8. They seem cool.
Seem pretty chill. If you had to choose one team in terms of personality out of all of HGC North America to just hang out and play a Hero League game with, what would you do?
I am a commentator who must be unbiased.
That was what I expected. Nothing but greatness coming out of you in that response. Thank you for that one.
There it is. The spray of beauty. The Varian question mark.
He's just so confused. All right, the Lucio's, no offense to the artist, but that one's not nearly as cool. And he just double BMs me with that.
Towers of Doom is where, again, Team Freedom must make their last stand. Not having the cleanest of victories in Game 3, but has to count for them.
Does have to count. The laning phase, teammate doesn't have as good of a... First of all, Insomnia is dead. Oh, good. Howling Blast. I thought for a moment get kicked off. Second of all, Glorong, in fact, is going to be our Leoric player.
Yep.
Third, teammate does not have a very good composition to be able to punish or push very hard. And when it comes to, or excuse me, Team Freedom doesn't have very good defensive according to the push of teammate into an Avatar comp. So teammate needs to make this early game really profitable. And the fact that they're losing this 1-4 question mark, you know, so far is not a good sign.
Varian question mark? Yeah, Abathur has been dual soaking the mid and the top, leaving Zeratul to go back and Team Freedom for a moment to have a 4-man here in the bottom lane, trying to just make sure they match wherever Prismaticism is so that Team 8 can't get anything done in the early game.
Initiation there from Jussing. Response is just going to be the damages coming out from Buds with the hammer adjusts. We got our 3 shrines spawning. 3 altars spawning on Towers of Doom.
Normal solo Leo build so far with block. This generally followed with fealty unto death so that he can sustain himself for a long time as a solo, but may still want to get hardened bones here. There is a lot of damage that Team Freedom can deal if he's more focused on the team fight laning phase for him.
Illusion gets the channel. Wow, never thought he'd get that. So both the teams are just really going to get rid of the shots very early on. Team 8 gets the losing end of that stick, but the Sapper camp on bottom was the trade-off. Going to be able to move into the Invade Freedom's Samper cap, but apparently that mine was enough of a deterrent. They saw it, they were like, no, they know we're here. Although by the fact that you weren't escorting your Sappers up on bottom, probably did the same thing.
Now they're still going to run in and take out the gate versus Freedom.
Here we go. Now's the time. No mine this time. You can't fool me once, Freedom. Fool me once. Dahaka is getting that side soak. Insomnia is rotated down, but he's not going to want to move in. Again, Insomnia can't do anything in this game. Legitimately, Insomnia might be more impactful this game, side soaking the entire time, taking Shadow Assault and not showing up until level 20.
Somehow I doubt that that's
yeah. I don't actually support that last part of that statement with the Shadow Assault, but every other part about it, I truly mean it.
He is going to side soak, and he will be able to at least throw out some damage. He's going after the Haka right now, but the primary focus continues to be the 3-man between both teams in the bottom lane. Until now.
We've got the double altar. And the sappers we got to worry about. No sapper available for Team Freedom to pick up.
This does put Freedom in a faster spot. They're ganking Glaurung in the mid, and we'll take him out.
He'll be back in time, though. His natural death timer was 17 seconds, so 10 seconds different. Can you see what the difference, I mean, obviously you know this, but for the guys at home trying to watch the game and understand how effective is Leoric, even dying that early on, Leoric is insane in his passive, not because he can rise from the dead faster, but it's because he cuts the distance from the place you normally spawn when you're rising from the dead and cuts it to 0 to wherever the action's at. So he can, it's not the fact that the 17 seconds of death timer, it's the fact that he didn't need the 30 seconds it took to walk to that altar.
And that fear is something that Team Freedom always has to keep in mind when they take out Leoric, because there always is the Leoric factor. He can spawn right up in front of you and entomb you. So with that, Team Freedom and Teammate will just trade out those altars, and Team Freedom continues to try to make sure they can keep up in the soak with those two good solo laners between Leoric and Dahaka. Abathur and Zeratul doing what they can in their own way, but Teammate has been relentless in taking the sappers in the bottom lane here, just constantly being a threat, an annoyance to Team Freedom.
Gillies, one thing we've seen a lot more in Part 2 is Mule. I mean, we've seen a lot more Abby, but we've seen ourselves more Mule than we've seen in the past 6 months, really, in the past 2 weeks. I feel like
I'll be the one to say this. I played Mule on Towers of Doom just the other day, and it was not super effective.
So when you say super effective, are we talking like Pokemon super effective, or are we talking like...
No, I said it was not super effective.
Yeah,
Although they did
I'm just
defend it here, and this is going to heal back up. So this does stop all of the bleeding that happened for these sappers. It is Abathur, so they're not giving up cleanse like you would a lot of times with the Fuel. But there has been a lot of it.
There has been. And like you said, there is the Abathur, right? So like it's not, we have more Abathur, so there's been more Mule viable. It's just another one of those things where it's a slow trend, rare to our region, which for the past 8 months, we haven't had our own flavor to really much of anything. It's more been a mimic of other regions. It's just more interesting to see. Again, we've seen more macro play out of us, but now the Mule, that is something we're bringing up ourselves here.
Full macro.
Little macro. Second Mule rotation.
They've got to get Prismaticism off if they want to. He does get rooted, but did unsiege. Here come the 3 sappers. 1, 2, and it almost is down. But still, thanks to the healing of the Mule, Team Freedom keep their bell tower alive. Prismaticism is in trouble. He's being slowed down. Void Prison hits 1.
Oh, but the Insomnia hitting the Singularity Spike. Buds needs to die if he's going to have any shot. There's the Divine Storm. Never thought I'd say that again, but the brawl is happening and nobody going down. Zugrug gets the damage out, throws down the Howling Blast. And Glaurung dies before he can actually get the damage out onto Zugrug. So another fight won for Team Freedom.
The poison damage was too much to deal with for Team 8 in that regard. Even though Sergeant Hammer narrowly zoomed away before Entomb could be caught. Team Freedom maintaining a nice lead in the core health. Let's talk about Divine Storm over Divine Shield.
It's seen some changes in 2.0, I believe. Maybe I'm even crazy. Hold on a minute. Glaurung getting the pick there, and Entomb's going to be dropped. No kills to come of it. Nice Howling Blast.
Though. Glaurung is taking so much damage from Dansky.
Okay, so the siege up here trying to rid of this Mule. Oh, man. It's going to be back up in half a second, too. You get it this time, but see, it died not from the shots of Prismat. It's actually back off cooldown. Drop me another one. Keep this up, Johnny. Don't let it go down. I guess it's got, since Mule's been actually changed since I played it last, I forgot. It actually has 15 seconds in between, so the Mule is not up yet. Either way, I got excited there for a moment. But yeah, Divine Storm, didn't see a cooldown change? That's the only thing, if anything, it saw was cooldown. But am I crazy?
Maybe.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. But either way,
Yeah,
sorry,
I don't know either.
I'm already amazed at how much Divine Storm we have here in NA right now. Because I can't help but feel like a lot of it is well, Malfurion's Twilight Dream's that big of a deal, right? But Twilight Dream is not only the original radius that Divine Storm used to be, maybe even bigger. It does more damage and it CCs for longer.
And not having Divine Shield is you're basically giving up one of the cooldowns in somebody who is cooldown dependent to be able to keep people alive.
I don't know. We're going to have to see how it plays out. It just makes me very skeptical towards how the rest of this game might work for Team 8, now knowing they don't have a Divine Shield. Because double Zeratul is very possible now.
Speaking of Zeratul, he's keeping Buds away from taking this altar. Here's Divine Storm, Flowering Sphere 2. The entirety of Team 8 pretty much is here, except for Varian. He's chasing him down. One shot, Singularity Spike, jump to it using his level 7.
Oh my gosh.
He got away!
He survives. He survived because of the corner. The Fog of War he broke. Justing is the heals. Does anybody have healed someone? Buds has no mana. No way. Justing is not going to survive unless Buds goes down. He does, but after Justing's already lost his life, Prismat throwing down the thrusters, the Howling Blast. He ends up dying. And one more is Freedom loses a member.
Yes, but there's still an Arthas here in the front lines. One more poison hits Glaurung, but he had the well tap to keep himself alive. These fights have been quite crazy this game.
They have been. They've been all over. But it's just... Oh man, I forgot my talking point. I forgot. I had
Divine Storm.
Yeah, it's just... I know Divine Storm's a thing, and how much we're seeing is definitely surprising me. It's just more of like, in this case, with such a vulnerable Sergeant Hammer, you know? Because I thought originally, Sergeant Hammer not going with the free armor whenever
resistant at 1
for whenever you're sieging up, so not going for that armor, I was like, makes sense. You're gonna have a Divine Shield on you, you know? You aren't worried about the Howling Blast double Zeratul coming in and killing you. It makes a lot of sense. But then now I'm looking at it, it's just like, so the idea is obviously between Taunt, between Divine Storm, First Aid, and everything else Team 8 has, they have the peels off of the Zeratul, you know, away from Sergeant Hammer. I just feel like
there's a clone. We're going for it. Double Arthas gets caught by the Entomb.
Big Void.
Void Prison hits the backline. We've still got double Arthas trying to slow down and do damage. And Nazmus leading the charge on the clone. Howling Blast catches everybody. Teammates slowly being brought down. Divine Storm hits a lot of members of Team Freedom, but it's not enough. Dansky continuing the chase, poisoning down. But the self-healing from Glaurung is keeping him alive for the moment. He will fall with Insomnia's assistance.
Yeah, Buds keeping himself alive, and Freedom doing a very good job of not focusing him down, because if they had, very much could have been Team 8 changing that fight around through that Uther Ghost. Nazmus is going to try and start this channel. No way he's going to get it. Shots on bottom are being responded as well. Freedom losing a member up on top.
Yeah, they got spread out.
Wow.
Zeratul and Arthas weren't there. Now Dansky has Thornwood Vine, stops once. Insomnia is now here to help. Buds and Prismaticism, Justing, all separated out. Team Freedom trying to set up, if they can, the pincer. There's the second Zeratul being cloned, or second Arthas.
They go in, they start with Justing. He throws down the first W. Zugrug. Nazmus completely ignored it, and Zugrug the main focus. Now the clone shares the same fate as the actual Arthas. And these shots are going to be channeled by Team 8. So we're back to an even game.
Freedom maybe just getting a little greedy in that phase.
Definitely, right? Like they saw a window of like, hey, we might be able to come back. They all spread up. They don't consider who's going where with what, how much HP, and how those 1v1s work, and end up losing a member. They also didn't consider the fact Glaurung gets free scouting in Ghost form, which allowed them to better understand the rotations and outplay that of Freedom.
That does put Freedom at a disadvantage in core health, but they still are caught up in experience and doing a good job of keeping that bottom bell tower for them, but they haven't been able to take any for themselves. They haven't really been able to do what they would love to be doing with Abathur.
Yeah, they really have not, you know. It's, again, another regional, you know, interesting pick in North America that Freedom seems to be trying to add to their arsenal, but whether or not it's in the proper composition, in the direct, you know, the right area, that is what it comes down to. And right now, I guess now, for the first time in this game, it's not working because he has had an upper hand for most of this game. Another Mule, another Sergeant Hammer Siege scenario. Looks like this time, teammate's gonna pull out on top.
Yeah, Freedom can't get her to stop sieging up right now and push her back. They do.
They get it. They're gonna buy the time Zugrug goes in. Howling Blast slowing everyone, or not Howling Blast, but the Frozen Tempest slowing everyone so very much.
Yeah, Nasmus has found his target, it's Prismaticism, while the rest of the team tries to take down everyone else from Team 8. But the clone is dealt with. Prismaticism gets away and Insomnia had to back off.
If Insomnia can heal up, this is the exact situation you and I were talking about, though. We just saw 2 defensive cooldowns pop to be able to save Hammer. And if they can re-initiate a team fight now, conveniently during the middle of a double altar phase, they should be able to win this fight.
Zeratul has taken the portal through, trying to stop Uther from getting the altar in mid. In the bottom, we've got this 4v3 with Yoda coming in, looking for a Dragon. Tomb even catches Zugrug, and he does not have Army of the Dead, so he goes down, but so does Dahaka with 7-sided strike.
7-sided strike, every side landed. Zeratul starts the channel, gets it. Insomnia sending 4 shots over as we have 46 seconds before these warriors return to the battlefield. They aren't even messing around. Teammate wasn't even willing to risk getting this bell tower first. They were like, screw it, take the shots, we'll take what we can get. And they get another bell tower here. See if they can cycle out this double sapper camp once again. Out on bottom. I've just never had a game of Heroes that I've watched before where it's just been so, you know, crazy. There's a lot of things happening all the time here, but they're so unpredictable when it comes to the rotations and laning choices across the most part. You know, even talking about how we thought these team fights would happen, I don't think we've once seen a double Zeratul try and die.
No, it's been double Arthas. 1, 2, 3 shots. Gets Team 8 that much closer to closing out this series. 16-9. But top lane, this might be the first opportunity for Team Freedom to get some Sapper pressure, some Abathur pressure. This is defended.
That, man. I've done that more times than I would like to admit to, especially on a hero like Zeratul, because you question if you do commit, because your auto attack debuffs, you end up in lag F situations. We've seen that before. It's an underestimated debuff, but you so wanted that bell tower. It's all right, Abathur will be able to get it in the long run.
Yeah, there's no mule for Team 8.
Yeah, and if, you know, right now Nasmus should be able to secure it. Whether or not he wants to is up to him. It's what you could wait for a later sapper phase for possibly more than just the one. Either way, Dahaka has not made his way down. Zeratul has. As he is sharking that back line right there, going very, very deep, but Zugrug taking so much damage, he's already out of the fight.
Yeah, he was taunted and stunned for so long that he couldn't. 7-sided strike hitting, and Nasmus did clone, but he couldn't fully utilize Army of the Dead by the time he popped it. There was no way Zugrug was going to survive that. Clone has been sufficiently taken out too, and that means Team Freedom has to give up another altar phase.
They have to give up not only another altar phase, but this is one of the things that Sergeant Hammer does so very well. Obviously doing damage at afar, but more is the fact that she can force advantages without the actual map objective up. Something I talked a lot of in Part 2 in North America, and a trend we see very little of here in NA, but Sergeant Hammer's so very good at it.
Team Freedom is trying to prep so that they can get maybe multiple bell towers at once, but the problem is these sappers in the bottom. If Freedom can't stop them, they are 2 away, and there's a boss up. Teammate can force all of the positioning for Team Freedom now.
They really can. and they can manipulate so much. And if they do so, you know, Abathur never wants to be restricted. So the boss is going to be started. Insomnia knows. He's like, hello, Prismaticism. Oh my goodness. The fact that Glarung was able to hit that during Hope, I thought they didn't know. They didn't even ping it, and he does. Zugrug goes in, though.
Army of the Dead early. Time to fight over the point. Divine Storm. Zugrug just cannot keep himself alive through this, but the poison damage is ripping through Team 8. Bud's nearly going down, but Sergeant Hammer and Lunara have fallen. It's a 2 for 2 so far. Void Prison hits the point, but Team 8 caps it.
Team Freedom, one shot remains when it comes to their core HP. They're down 2 members. Teammates down 1. So Team Freedom has to deal with a one-man disadvantage for 40 seconds. And then back to an even playing field. If they do not, they are going to lose this series.
Sprays marking the territory of Team 8. Man, it's Karazim, Abathur, and Insomnia as Zeratol trying to stop this.
Not necessarily your best.
No.
The ideal, oh man, the taunt going on to Collusion. Bud's gonna start the next channel.
Yeah, he doesn't have somebody to jump to as long as everyone keeps it. He has to use 7-sided strike.
Oh man, the Abathur actually got it. Got the first interrupt. There goes the clone. They're stalling time, but at what cost is what we have to ask ourselves as Collusion, the last man standing, the channel starts! And not even the Slabathur can get it.
Nasmus trying everything he can to stop it, but Team 8 victorious, not only in Game 4, but in the series.
Very controlled play coming out from Team 8 here today. They did give up a game, though, showing still a bit of recovery after what they experienced over some of the major upsets to other teams in North America, and showing they're still human, still more a part of the middle of the pack than it feels like Gale Force and Tempo are.
Yes, although Gale Force did lose to No Tomorrow, so maybe it is at least that Gale Force just has issues with overestimation. That could be it too. It sort of sounded like that was what Michael Udall was saying, but now with the 3-0 over B-Step, hoping to see that Gale Force has worked all of those issues out.
Yeah. I know. I agree. Technically, both of them major upsets, you know, to those lower teams. It's just after that 3-0 into B-Step, you know, B-Step has shown to be a pretty respectable team at this stage of Part 2 with their improvement. Really makes me feel like after what we saw from today, it's like, you know, Team 8 is a part of the squad, and Gale Force is like, nah, we're a pretty solid second.
And Team 8, when I got to talk to Justin, he said yes, it would be awesome if we could take second place, but with Gale Force getting a 3-0 in the last series, it's pretty far out of reach for them that Team 8 could take the second place spot in standings, and they just feel like as long as we are as high up as we could be, it'd be great if we could only play one series, but we're understanding that we can play we might have to play 2 series, and we're cool with that. We're ready.
Yeah, and they need to have that mentality, right? To be able to accept that whenever, you know, sometimes there's just the human error and human factor that comes into competitive gaming, and that can come down to, you know, how many resources do we have this week to be able to commit towards our research, towards our time, and be able to get those wins. But either way, other than that, 2.0, day number 1, wasn't as crazy as you would expect. For all the things added to the game, I mean, obviously we got to see some of the newer skins, the sprays and such, but only Uther. That was the only thing out of day number 1.
But we've got 2 more days, so maybe there's hope yet for Cassia. We can ask this guy about Cassia. Justing's here. Hey, Justing. Congratulations. You guys are able to take the victory over Team Freedom. I want to ask you right away. You took Hive Master, the level 20 Locust Swarm, in game number 1. Can you tell us when you think that might be a viable talent? Oh, you're muted.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. I think pretty much anytime you take Locust Swarm, it's probably just the best level 20 for the most part. I think Rewind can be good, but in that game we were pretty much so far ahead when I took it that I figured it would just give us just more sustain for Shrine fights and just pretty much help us snowball the game harder.
Awesome. You guys feeling pretty confident in your positioning and looking toward playoffs now that you've been able to get more consistent victories?
Yeah, I think so. We kind of already had our bottoming out, I think. I think we already hit rock bottom for our team. We had team talks and stuff like that. We had to do all that stuff, and now I think we're starting to trend up again. So I think it's only up from here for Team 8.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, that is really awesome to hear, you know, because we know that there are highs and lows in times, especially in a league format like this. But I got to ask a little bit about the drafts coming out today. We didn't see too many crazy things in 2.0, so I just wanted to know, is there anything from your side, maybe not even just your team, just in North America that we can expect? Cassia, and then is there anything else new in the meta?
Maybe I think Gale Force kind of showed it. I didn't really catch the games, but I think there might be some cheese coming. Some
Okay.
split push cheese.
So some
Probably the
split
biggest
with
thing.
cheese a brewing. All right.
Yeah.
I just had to get it out because I'm dying to know. Something is missing here in 2.0. We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
What about Uther? Where are you guys feeling about Uther? Super strong, situational? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's pretty good overall. He's definitely vastly better to the previous patch. I think the armor is really neat because he doesn't really have value in his healing per se as much as just the armor buff is really nice. So I think he's like really high skill cap now, and if played correctly, he can be like S or A tier.
Great. Well, it's great to see Uther back. Once again, it's good to see you too. Congrats. I know you'll be playing Naventic tomorrow. Do you have any shout-outs before we let you go celebrate with the team and prepare for that?
Just shout-outs to my team. Shout-outs to everyone who stuck with Teammate through the last couple of weeks. Hopefully we can make you guys proud, and hopefully we can make it to Sweden for you guys. So just shout-outs to everyone who supports us.
Thank you for joining us. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.